Valentine's Day is supposed to be a celebration of love, a day that strengthens the bond between couples. But for me, it turned into something completely different. What was meant to be a simple prank ended up costing me my relationship forever. I never imagined that something so trivial could push my boyfriend away. Even now, I haven't recovered from the heartbreak. I'm devastated, angry, and most of all, confused. How could he walk away from a 3-year-long relationship over something as insignificant as a prank? I thought he understood me, that he knew my playful nature, but clearly I was wrong. And now, I'm here, venting, searching for answers, and hoping for advice that might help me get him back. Our second Valentine's Day together was supposed to be special. The first one had been disappointing, but I had high hopes for this one. I had dropped obvious hints to Theo about what I wanted, an elegant wristwatch. I made sure he knew exactly what I had in mind. And he didn't disappoint, or so I thought. 2 days before Valentine's, I went to his house to pick up a document he needed. He had called me, asking me to retrieve it from his wardrobe and bring it to his office, since he was too busy to leave work. As his girlfriend, the person he trusted the most, I was happy to help. However, when I opened his wardrobe, I discovered something unexpected. Amidst the neatly folded clothes, a red box peeked out from underneath a pile of shirts. The slight shimmer of the red fabric caught my eye, and curiosity got the best of me. Ignoring the voice in my head telling me to leave it alone, I pulled out the box and untied the ribbon. The moment I lifted the lid, my breath hitched. Inside was the exact wristwatch I had been dreaming of. But that wasn't all. The box also contained a matching bracelet, necklace, and earrings, each piece carefully selected to complement the watch. As if that weren't enough, there was a bottle of my favorite perfume nestled between the jewelry. Theo had clearly put thought into this gift. My heart swelled with happiness, but I quickly realized that I had just spoiled my own surprise. Wanting to preserve the moment, I carefully placed everything back the way it was and grabbed the document. I couldn't stop smiling as I delivered it to Theo at work. Seeing him, knowing what he had done, made me want to throw my arms around him and thank him for being so thoughtful. But I held back. I didn't want to ruin his grand reveal. Instead, I handed him the papers, accepted his thanks, and walked away, brimming with excitement. Valentine's Day finally arrived, and I expected something magical. I imagined a heartfelt presentation of my gift, maybe even a romantic date. But instead, Theo was his usual grumpy self, complaining about how Valentine's Day was just a commercial scam. I was confused. I thought he had changed of perspective, that he had finally understood how much this day meant to me. I reassured myself that it was all part of his act. Perhaps he was just pretending to keep the surprise intact. But as the hours passed, my excitement turned into doubt. We stayed at his house, and instead of preparing for a romantic evening, he grumbled about the TV show celebrating love and the couples walking past his window in red and white. And then, out of nowhere, he announced that he was going to bed. I was stunned. My mind raced as I tried to process what was happening. Did he forget? Was this a joke? When I asked if he had something for me, he looked at me as if I had lost my mind. He genuinely had no idea what I was talking about. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. He had never planned to give me the gift. It had been sitting in his wardrobe, untouched, while he continued to act as if Valentine's Day meant nothing. Anger bubbled inside me. I stormed out his house, too frustrated to stay. I didn't know where to go. The thought of returning home to an empty space made me feel even worse, and all the parties around were designed for couples. I didn't want to be the odd one out, so I spent the night alone, drowned in my sorrows in romantic movies. The next morning, my best friend Mabel showed up at my door, beaming with excitement about her amazing Valentine's Day. She gushed about the thoughtful surprises her boyfriend had planned, the romantic gestures, and the love she felt. Her happiness was contagious, but it also made me feel miserable. When she asked about my Valentines, I couldn't bring myself to admit the truth. I had bragged so much about how this year would be different, how Theo had changed. I couldn't let her know how horribly wrong I had been. So I lied. I painted a picture-perfect story, telling her that Theo had surprised me with an incredible gift, that our night had been magical. When she asked to see the gift, I brushed it off, saying she'd see it when I wore it. She seemed intrigued but didn't push further. But then, something unexpected happened. The following morning, while I was working at my confectionery shop, Theo walked in his hands. He carried a bouquet of flowers and a basket filled with who knows what. Behind him, a trumpeter played a jazz rendition of my favorite pop song. The entire shop fell silent as everyone turned to watch. It was like a scene from a romance movie, grand, unexpected, and impossible to ignore. And that was when everything started to spiral out of control. The moment Theo placed the basket on the counter, my heart swelled with emotion. He leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to my lips before whispering words that sent warmth coursing through my veins. Words of devotion, of love. I am his and he is mine. The intensity of the moment was too much to bear, and tears welled up in my eyes, spilling over as the entire shop erupted into applause and cheers. But then, as I peered into the basket, my joy turned to something else entirely. Among the gifts inside, bottles of fine wine and other carefully chosen items, was a red box. That same red box I had seen days before, hidden in his wardrobe just before Valentine's Day. My heart sank as I put the pieces together. Theo had bought this gift before Valentine's Day, yet he had chosen not to give it to me on that special day. My mind reeled with questions, doubts gnawing at the edges of my happiness. Was he too ashamed to give me something on Valentine's Day? Had he hesitated? The realization hit me like a blow to the chest. I had spent the entire day waiting, hoping, expecting something that never came. The weight of that disappointment settled over me like a dark cloud, making me question everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Theo was undeniably romantic. Anyone could see that. But how could the most romantic man I had ever known dismiss the most romantic day of the year? The joy in the shop, the bright smiles surrounding me, suddenly felt different. They no longer looked like smiles of happiness, but a mockery, as if they were silently judging me, thinking, if he truly valued you, he would have given you this on Valentine's Day, not 2 days later. Embarrassment burned through me, hot and unbearable. My emotions twisted into something darker, anger, resentment. And in that moment, as I stood there with my gift 2 days too late, I made a silent vow. Asterisk, Theo would know exactly how I felt. Next Valentine's Day, he would feel the same sting of humiliation that I did. I would make sure of it. Asterisk. As the months passed, that vow became my obsession. I spent countless hours envisioning how I would make Theo understand. I wanted him to feel the same frustration I felt every time he dismissed Valentine's Day as nothing more than a capitalist ploy. I wanted him to feel the irritation I felt whenever he refused to indulge in the holiday traditions just because he didn't want to be basic. More than anything, I wanted him to feel small, like he was the one missing out. The way I saw it, Theo thought he was better than people who cherished Valentine's Day. He thought we were all fools for celebrating love in a way society dictated. And that condescension, that arrogance, it fueled my determination. I meticulously planned my revenge, right down to the vehicle I would use that day. I was going to pull off the ultimate prank, one so elaborate, so convincing, that he would be left reeling. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't care about them. All that mattered was that Theo felt what I felt. I ignored every kind gesture he had ever made. The birthday surprises, the spontaneous weekend getaways, the Christmas gifts, the Halloween treats. Every little thing he did to show his love. None of it mattered, because on that one day, the one day that should have counted most, he had done nothing, and for that, I would make him pay. As Valentine's Day approached, my plan unfolded perfectly. I didn't call Theo. I didn't visit him. I wanted him to wonder, to feel that void where my presence had always been. Instead, I treated myself like the queen I was. I dined at the finest restaurant, indulging in everything Theo had denied me. But I wasn't alone. I had someone with me, a man, though not in the way Theo might think. His purpose was simple, to document everything. Every picture, every video, every carefully staged moment was meant to make Theo jealous. Shots of me stepping out of a sleek car, his hand helping me out as though I were a treasured princess. Videos of me being fed, the mystery man's hands visible just enough to imply intimacy, but never revealing his face. And then the piece de resistance, an engagement ring. I slid it onto my finger and captured the moment. The sparkle of the gem, my hand intertwined with my cameraman's, the illusion of love, commitment. Every image, every post was crafted with one goal in mind: to make Theo believe that someone else had given me the Valentine's Day he never did. I wasn't done. I went further, crossing a line I never should have. I booked a hotel room. On Valentine's Day, no less, a near impossible feat there, I took more photos. My cameraman gently cupped my chin while I smiled, my eyes closed as if lost in bliss. The bed, adorned with rose petals, became my stage. Every post dripped with romance. And when I finally shared them on social media, I watched the chaos unfold. Comments flooded in. Congratulations! Friends and acquaintances celebrated what they believed to be my engagement. Those who knew about Theo and me assumed he had finally proposed. And Theo, Theo asterisk, I knew he would be losing his mind. He would know it wasn't him in those pictures. He would know, without a shadow of a doubt, that I had spent Valentine's Day with someone else. And then I waited. His calls came in one after another. I didn't answer. I wanted him desperate, confused, unraveling. He showed up at my house, knocking, calling my name. I let him wait. For the first time, I was in control. But my victory was short-lived. Days passed, then weeks, and still, nothing star. No calls, no messages, no Theo. My stomach twisted with unease. I reached out to his friends, but they were tight-lipped. It was as if he had disappeared. And then, one fateful day, I saw him. I ran to him, eager to explain, to laugh it off, to tell him it was all just a prank. But when I reached out for him, he recoiled, pushing me away like I was a stranger. His eyes, once so full of love, were cold, distant. "You're not my girlfriend," he said, voice void of emotion. "I don't date people who are engaged." Panic surged through me. I hurried to explain, to tell him it was all fake, a joke gone too far. But he didn't laugh. He didn't soften. He only looked at me with something worse than anger, disgust, "What kind of person does something like this?" he asked. "What were you trying to prove?" His words cut deeper than any blade. I had no good answer. I could only stand there, crumbling under the weight of my own actions. He shook his head. "All the things I did for you, all the ways I showed I loved you. And because of one day, you threw all away." I pleaded, sobbed, begged, but his decision was final. "I'd rather be alone than be with someone like you," he said. Then he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, shattered, drowning in my own regret. I had wanted him to feel pain. I had wanted him to suffer. But in the end, the only one who lost was me.